TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David SMOAK and Craig SMOAK.
And welcome into the SMOAK Show here on 365 Sports. Appreciate you being here with us on a Thursday as we're getting close to the end of another week, and a lot to discuss as the Women's College World Series gets underway last night. College baseball about to get back underway starting tomorrow, and a few interesting headlines from around the world of college sports that we will get into throughout the show today and the next 2.5 hours. But appreciate you being along for the ride. What's up to everybody in chat? And I am not David SMOAK, but this is still the SMOAK Show. Smokey's on vacation for the next couple of days. He's visiting his brothers in Florida, so don't know if they'll be watching or not, but if they are, hey, Mike, hey, Phil, hey, Marianne, hey, everybody out there. But I'm not alone. Today, being joined by the usual suspects behind the scenes, and one of those actually now in front of the camera. If you watch the Zach Gelb Show, I'm sure you're very familiar with one Garrett Ross. But Garrett Ross with me today, and will be with me tomorrow as well. And Garrett, appreciate you jumping on the set here and getting ready to talk some college sports with me.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to this. I've been wanting to do this for a minute, jump on with you. But, yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about. Garrett's been with us for a very long time. You've heard his name if you've been listening to the show for a while at the intros, and Rez and everybody else, Andrew behind the scenes. They're all helping out as usual, but Garrett's had plenty of time in front of the camera, again, with Zach Gelb quite a bit, jumps on with us from time to time, and looking forward to getting your opinions a bit more out here and out in front. But hope everybody's doing well. It's been a tough 24 hours, I think, for the Texas Tech fans out there, Garrett. A good 24 hours for the Texas fans, this back and forth that's been going on. We'll get into it in just a moment, but I do want to mention first that we do have 3 guests that will be joining us today on the show. We're going to be talking Dave Campbell's Texas football cover reveal with Greg Tepper, the managing editor. Texas Tech, speaking of which, announced as to be on the cover a couple of days ago, like their front office cover, if you will, with Joey McGuire and James Blanchard. And we're going to get into kind of the details of how that cover was selected. And just, it's an annual tradition to talk to Greg when this magazine gets revealed. So he'll be with us at 3:30 to deep dive on the latest edition of Dave Campbell's. We're also going to have Brandon Huffman of 247 Sports. You're a member of 247 Sports. Yep. And you know Brandon, and I was making the comment just the other day about how Elite 11 doesn't really register with me the way that it used to. And I maintain that because part of it is just I'm not beat writing, and so I'm not following a school that had a quarterback in the running like Baylor did there for a while. It was Jarrett Stidham and this guy and that guy and the other guy. But there were some interesting things coming out of that, and I thought, you know what? Let's talk about some of these quarterback recruits because they're going to be big-time names that we know moving forward at big-time schools. So looking forward to talking to Brandon a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. The Elite 11, like, it doesn't get the eyeballs that it once did because of the landscape, but there's still a lot of talent coming out of this. And while of these guys are viewed differently as, like, they're not going to come in within the next couple of years and start, it's more so going to be down the road with once they develop. You still need to know those names because there's going to be household names going forward. There's one interesting thing I'm really wanting to talk to Brandon about because Alabama has 2 kids from the Elite 11 signed in this class. And you would think that wouldn't happen anymore with being able to hoard talent and all that. You wouldn't want to have 2 high caliber guys go into the same program. So I'm really fascinated to hear that story. But yeah, dude, there's a lot of talent out there. Yeah,
Elijah Haven, Trent Seaborn, the 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks for the Crimson Tide. So yeah, we'll talk about that with Brandon and all the rest of just the big headlines and kind of his impressions from what he saw at Elite 11. So yeah, I went from like, yeah, it doesn't really matter as much to, I don't know, it might be kind of cool to talk about it. And you know what? Just even the thought of just talking some high school recruiting is kind of refreshing, man. It's kind of refreshing. I don't know. I've not given it much thought, but I I just realized I don't think about it all that much anymore. I know it's a little bit of a different story for you because you cover recruiting and LSU in particular, Baylor as well. But yeah, I just haven't focused in on it in a while.
No, it's one of those things where it's kind of gone off the radar for some people, but it's still fun to dive into. Like you said, like the players, it's not the same as like you're looking at these guys and they're going to make an immediate impact. You're looking for the future, and it's more so programs now have to take the approach of we got to establish these relationships, maintain these relationships, and make sure that we could keep them for the long term, because you might not get a kid right now out of high school, but 9 times out of 10, especially if he's from in your state, there's more than likely that he's going to hit the portal in a couple of years. And if your relationship is still maintained, you have a good chance of grabbing them. So it's more so now like preparing and setting things up for the future in that aspect, instead of worrying about getting these guys in now and the production that they can have early on.
Yeah, so we will be talking to Brandon Huffman about that. So Greg Tepper, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, talking that tech cover and the deep dive that they normally take across college and also high school football. And I'll ask Greg about that too, of just kind of the difference in covering high school ball nowadays. Like, I don't know if there's a time even 5 years ago where they have the cover they have this year, where there's a GM and the AD, and like it's a weird thing. Like, are there recognizable enough high school players anymore to just grace the Dave Campbell's cover? I'm going to ask Greg about that.
That's fascinating, because the one that's on there this season, I believe it's the first time since 2000 with Cedric Benson that we've had a player on the cover, which I'm interested too. Like, what makes this kid so much different? Why so long? But no, it's fascinating to see who they put on each year. And it's always kind of like a guessing game, right? It's usually who had success the year prior. You can have a good idea going into it, but the finished product's always fun to see.
Yes, it is. And so, yeah, you had the cover with Texas Tech, but also Landon Williams-Callis, I believe, on there as well. So we'll dive into the details of that with Greg Tepper. Brandon Huffman at Elite 11. And then John McClain, Houston Chronicle, will join us at 5 o'clock. Garrett, I'll have to take off a little bit early because he's doing like quadruple duty, and I appreciate you taking some extra time out to just be with me here for a couple of hours. But I'll be talking NFL, and certainly no shortage of headlines in the NFL the last few days. So I look forward to that coming up at 5 o'clock. But let's dive into some news and some headlines and just some things of interest to talk about. And I mentioned it's kind of a rough 24 hours if you're a Tech fan, not so much if you're a Texas fan, because of the way that the game one of the College World Series, women's softball, last night, as I said, was just a situation where I hope to see a good game. That's all I was really hoping for, was a good game. And, well, it didn't start off that way, Garrett. A 5-run first inning for the Longhorns. They get the early lead, and Texas Tech just kind of having to try to pivot. They bring Kennedy in. They're trying to save her. Becomes clear pretty quickly that she's not going to be able to save the day, so they pivot again. They'll have her tonight in game 2. They must stave off elimination, but just a messy first inning for Texas Tech. Not the way that they drew it up. They try to scratch back a little bit, but just not enough. So 7-3, Texas wins game number 1. An incredible pitching performance for the Longhorns, and obviously a huge first inning helped lead the way. So tonight it's Texas win equals a national championship, or a Texas Tech win, and we're going to see a game 3 here.
Yeah, man, after watching that, like I don't know if Tech can beat them. I really don't. Texas is really, really good. Najee Kennedy is going to have an all-out performance tonight to even give them a hope. But it was really disappointing. Like, there was a lot of expectations going into that game, like stemming over from the football beef and everything. And it was just like early on, once Tech took the lead off the home run, it was like, okay, here we go. We got some momentum, and then it just fell apart, dude. And Texas turned it really into batting practice in the bottom of the first. Tech was never able to rally, and you could tell it was over, and that they were just preparing ahead to try to steal game 2 and force a game 3. But hopefully we can get 3. I'm not sure that we can do that.
Yeah, it's a situation where, for the Tech fans out there, I know last year was a particularly tough ending. You get this rematch, especially with all that was leading into it and kind of the back and forth. And then last night just goes off the rails. My Tech alum sister bummed out, and then a little bit of hope that maybe they could fight back, but not doing so. And Tech had the early home run right out of the gates, and you're like feeling great about it. But then once they had to play a little bit of defense, Texas responded in kind. So it was 1-0 Tech. awesome, great start, 5-1 after the first, and then just a little bit of scoring on both sides in the middle of the game, and ultimately Texas wins 7-3. So coming up later on tonight, it'll be game number 2 to see if, in fact, we can extend this thing a little bit further, and that'll be a 7 o'clock start time on ESPN, Texas and Texas Tech. So looking forward to watching that. It is a great scene, man. I'm still, this whole Jason Williams thing I was telling you is so confusing to me, and we haven't talked a lot about it, and I'm not going to try to be an expert on the whole situation, but white chocolate, obviously his daughter's on Texas Tech's team. She's very good. And he's made a lot of noise, brought a lot of promotion, but I guess also brought a lot of attention that maybe people didn't like so much when he had a bit of a rant about Florida the other day. And I'll tell you, I have not kept up with this. I saw it from like the peripheral basically. And I knew about his daughter and all of that, but didn't so much keep up with the Barstool stuff. And then I saw as of yesterday that he had left OKC, and there's this whole to-do. Like, can you explain any of it?
So I remember during the series with Florida when they were playing, there was an instance where a Florida fan, this older lady, was upset that they were having success. Mia was part of that success, Jason Williams' daughter, and she was cussing at them for yelling, and she ended up like physically touching his younger daughter. And so he got into it. I was watching the Wake Up Barstool where he came on and he eviscerated Florida. He really did, dude. Like he eviscerated the fan base. He was saying he would never claim the school again. He said some things. But I guess if you're Tech, you're just playing it safe. Like you don't want the optics to cause any more distraction. The way things, like Florida wasn't going to shake your hand. You had the incident with Tennessee and the line. There's been a lot of controversy around the Tech program, and a lot of it is jealousy. Let's just be real. It's jealousy because they're technically not supposed to be here. But that's what it was. That's what it stemmed from. Now, I know that I saw where it was like an Instagram live or something where he had mentioned that he was asked to leave. I don't know if Tech asked him. I don't know if Oklahoma City, the NCAA. I don't know the details of that, but I'm assuming that it stemmed from the altercation in Florida and how he went in on the Gators on Wake Up Barstool.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen anything if he's going to try to be there tonight. I saw one comment where he was doing an interview, and I forget who it was now. They were saying, dude, if they lose tonight, you need to be there. So I'm not sure if he's on his way or not. I've been a bit busy today. Haven't been able to track, but I think that's actually good advice. Like it might be the last chance to see you play for a national championship, man. Like there's no guarantee that it goes beyond tonight. So I think that's probably good advice. We'll see. I'm not sure if he's made his plans known or not, but just a bummer of a first outing for Texas Tech. And so Texas and Texas Tech one more time tonight, or maybe the first of 2 more times as they look to extend this series. Meanwhile, a little bit more recruiting news, and we don't typically have a lot of that, as we've talked about, because it's not as important feeling as it once was, although I do think it still is of much interest if you are a blue blood program or a program like Texas Tech who's recruiting really, really well. When things are going well, everything's more fun. Like every piece of news is great when your team's doing well and when you're excited about it. And then when they're not, that everything is just kind of like whatever. And then if it's just sort of what traditional recruiting has turned into the last few years, if you're Miami and Texas and so forth, it's still very exciting in Texas Tech. But it's lost a little bit of its luster. But I did find this of note, and especially with you covering LSU, wanted to bring this up. 5-star Jaden Bryant making his decision to flip known last night or yesterday. Jaden Bryant flipping from LSU to Miami, big 5-star get for the Hurricanes, edge rusher, which we know is a premium position, and just saw a lot of waves made about this. And obviously you got 2 big-time programs that are tangling for a big-time recruit. What is, I guess, the kind of LSU reaction to this? Is this expected? What kind of player are we talking here? Like, what are your thoughts on Jaden Bryant, 5-star, going from LSU to Miami?
So Jaden was part of a big contingent of players last week that made their way for the first official visit to LSU. And there was really a lot of focus on this defensive line group, and having Coach O come back there. They do not want to be weak in the trenches. They've been exposed the past couple of years. There was a lot of talk that it was potentially it's not shocking that he flipped, because he had already said a couple of days ago he canceled his trip to Texas A&M, and LSU had been shifting towards focusing on some other guys, because this was kind of expected. So he hits the portal, Now they're shifting their focus. Can you flip Brewster from Texas Tech? That's the main focus right now, is trying to get him to flip from Texas Tech. Then you have another guy out there in Abraham Sessi. This kid is from Pennsylvania. He's really good, but it's Notre Dame's got the edge right now over LSU, but the Tigers can make a push for him. The one to keep an eye on that could fill the void right here is going to be KJ. What is it? Yeah, KJ Green. KJ Green is a kid from Georgia. He was on campus this past weekend as well. LSU is really putting a focus on him. Sterling Lucas, the offensive line coach or defensive line coach, is really done an excellent job of building relationships with him. And all the motion is swinging that. Keep an eye on KJ to land, and then LSU to possibly flip Jalen Brewster from Tech.
So a lot of Tech early on. There's
a lot of it, man.
College World Series, but also the recruiting side of it. So Brewster, I've seen a lot of overtures, like LSU, especially heavy on him. I don't know if anybody else has been quite as in the mix, but it seems like that's very much a still undetermined. I mean, look, and it's freaking June 4th.
Right.
So I mean, it's still recruiting, and that means flips can happen at any point. But it does feel like, even for somebody who doesn't follow it like on a day-to-day basis as much, I've felt a lot of that kind of momentum that there could be a flip there. Yeah,
that's really, LSU is trying to flip him. They're also trying to flip Easton Royal from Texas. Now, the focus in Baton Rouge, like I mentioned a while ago, is the trenches right now. And so, and the number out there that Texas has reported to give Easton Royal is more than LSU's looking to match. So if they're going to pay big in Baton Rouge, it's going to start in the trenches and then work its way out. So that's why all indications are right now, if they are able to flip one of those two, it will be Brewster over Eastern Royal.
And of course, Tech can always come back to the table and say, hey, here's what we're going to offer. And that's the crown jewel of their class at the moment. Yep. So you know they're going to fight for him. What a great time to be Jalen Brewster.
Yes.
You basically have all of these programs just throwing money at you and fighting over who can give you the sweetest deal to land you. And man, that is a wild difference from what we used to know. But yes, Jaden Bryant, the 5-star edge rusher, flips from LSU to Miami. And yeah, just thought that was of interesting and of note. And I think we're obviously going to talk a little bit of recruiting with Brandon Huffman, but try to dabble in that a little bit more as we move forward here. Meanwhile, do you like neutral site type games? Do you like big money matchups? Well, if you do, then you're in luck, because there is a major game that's now going to be played in a baseball stadium. But if you don't, then you don't like this news from the college basketball world. Matt Norlander, the first to have this out there, but a massive non-conference game in 26 and 27, Duke and Michigan. It was going to be played December 21st at Madison Square Garden. I mean, how can you get any better than that? It's like right before Christmas time, New York City, MSG. And now the expectations are, according to Matt Norlander, that this Duke-Michigan basketball matchup will be moved to Lone Depot Park, home of the Miami Marlins. The game remains on December 21st. The contracts have not been signed, but sources, Norlander says this week, put it close to 100% that the game gets moved to the MLB ballpark in southeastern Florida. So you go from Christmas in New York to like Christmas in Boca Raton or whatever. Like it's like Home Alone when they end up stuck in the Florida hotel. Contracts haven't been signed, as I mentioned, but 100% feeling that this will get done. Really close to being finalized. This game's going to be played at the baseball stadium, barring something happening, another source said. But then there was another that said there were critical final steps. This apparently was a decision forced upon both teams after a broadcast rights dispute surfaced following Duke's announcement that they had signed this new multi-year deal with Amazon. And we wondered, like, kind of how was that going to work? Did Duke unlock a secret cheat code here, or is this going to become the new thing? And apparently that's now what's leading in part to this decision. It was going to make Duke millions of dollars in exchange for a 3-game package of non-con matchups. They're scheduled to face UConn in Vegas, Gonzaga in Detroit, and Michigan in Miami. So now, because of a broadcasting dispute, looks like this is going to be moving, and I don't love this. MSG's neutral site too, right. So it's not like it was a home game that one of these teams is losing, but TV money, man, that's ultimately what calls the shots.
This is dumb. Like, this makes no sense to me. Like, I understood. Like, okay, what was it? Michigan State, I believe it was Michigan State and North Carolina a few years back where they played the game on the aircraft carrier. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, why are we going to Miami to play? Nobody even watches the Marlins play. What are we doing? Why are you going to go down there and play a basketball game at Christmas when there's no ties to either one of the programs in the city? That makes no sense. Like, pick a basketball arena or something.
Yeah. Like the Heat have an arena.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're busy on December the 21st, but I mean, you're going from neutral site, but yeah, this seemed like a real bummer to me when I saw that news, and it was of interest even more so because of the fact that Amazon deal is involved. So hope you enjoy baseball stadium basketball games, because that is exactly what you're going to get now with Duke and with Michigan. So there is that, and we'll see how ultimately that goes, but don't love that personally. Meanwhile, Virginia Tech, and a couple of big donation pieces of news today. Virginia Tech, James Franklin taking over the program, and he's now armed with $75 million more dollars, or the school, I should say, is more armed. We'll see how much of that ends up going directly to football. But Virginia Tech announcing a $75 million commitment, the largest in university history. And as it says there, will advance the university's ambitious athletic strategy and expand one of its most innovative academic programs. So at least you have the dueling parts of this, that they do remember that school still matters to some degree. But athletics, you can best believe, will get a lot of this. Anonymous gift by a 4-generation Hokie family to athletics, while a sizable portion directed to the Honors College. The athletic portion includes philanthropy for the Invest to Win initiative, blah, 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 blah. Major milestone for Virginia Tech athletics and its Invest to Win initiative. And you see a lot of like businessy, wordy stuff, but biggest donation in school history. And I mean, I feel like this is going to be a really fun year to watch the Hokies with this changeover to James Franklin. Just kind of a team that felt like it was sort of wandering through the woods in a way, sort of lost, and certainly not what I kind of recall and growing up watching Virginia Tech football. So don't know how quickly some of this money will get put to good use. Obviously, it's an incredible donation, so that's a lot of money to play with. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about James Franklin.
I think it's good. This is like you mentioned, like when we were coming up, Virginia Tech was awesome. The atmosphere, Michael Vick, all of that, it was great. And it's just kind of gone away for quite some time now. But I think seeing what James Franklin was able to do, even though he caught a lot of flack at Penn State, he was consistently winning 10 games. And if you could have that in Blacksburg, you're definitely going to take that. And you look at the ACC, there's no reason that James Franklin can't go in, especially take this type of money and put together a roster that could compete and make the Hokies regular contenders for the ACC championship. So I'm really fascinated to see what he can do down there. And I think it's going to get that program turned back around.
I do too. I mean, I think they're going to definitely, at worst, be of interest early on, but I think he's going to keep them steady. And I don't know how quickly they get to like winning major games, because obviously that's why he got fired. That was part of the big reason why he got let go at Penn State. But yeah, now he's got a lot more money to work with, $75 million, and anonymous 4-generation Hokie family. But they weren't alone in the big money announcements today, as the University of Tennessee also announced a $130 million gift. Virginia Tech's like, come on, man. This measuring contest here. But you may recognize the name Jimmy Haslam. Well, Jimmy Haslam and wife Dee, Tennessee alumni, have given out the largest gift in the history of the state's flagship university. The bulk of the $100 million donation will be earmarked for the Haslam College of Business. So it's going towards non-sports, which I think is a good thing to keep strengthening the academic sides, but that will go to the largest, or to the Haslam College of Business, the largest undergraduate college at the university. It will provide funding for student success initiatives, graduate student scholarships, undergraduate honors programs, and I'm sure some of it will trickle to the athletics programs as well. But either way, Jimmy Haslam, who has been a big-time Tennessee donor over the years, he and his wife donating over $100 million, and I don't even know what that must feel like. Like, honey, do you want to donate like a few bucks to our alma mater? Yeah, sure. What do you want? Like, we're like, I don't know, $100 million. Okay. Like, and you just don't even, I'm sure there's write-offs and things that come with that are beneficial. But Yeah, this one not like earmarked for athletics the way the VodTech one was, but still 100
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuel.
And here we are back on 365 Sports. Appreciate your patience. Appreciate you being with us as always. Some gremlins. It's a day that ends in Y, right? So thanks for being around and hanging around in the chat and on YouTube and on Twitter as well. Craig Smoke, Garrett Ross. This is the Smoke Show. And Rez, just give me a thumbs up if we have our guests ready to go to. And we do, in fact, have our guests ready to go to, as we are very excited to talk about the latest edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. And joining us now via video is the editor-in-chief of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, one Greg Tepper. Greg, it's been a while, man. Hope you've been doing well. How's life going for you, man?
Well, it's better now that we've finished a 400-page magazine. I can actually like breathe. I got to like reintroduce myself to my children. Like it's better now. But yeah, well, no, we're doing good. Football season is almost here, and I know it doesn't feel like it, but when we put that magazine to bed, it's ready to start getting ready for football season.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those just kind of signs along the way. It's like traveling somewhere and you see that familiar gas station. You're like, oh, we're almost there. It's like Dave Campbell's comes out. We're almost to football season. So the 67th annual edition, and you've got the dueling covers, but the cover that features Texas Tech front and center. Very interesting choice going with a collection, Red Raider Inc., as you guys refer to it. Just take us through the thought process here. Obviously, Tech's getting a lot of attention, but this approach of having James Blanchard, having Joey, kind of looking at the big picture of it. What was the idea with that?
Yeah, it's a unique situation. So we go through the same process every year with the magazine, where we say, okay, what is the most compelling story in the state of Texas, and how can we reflect the moment in football in the state of Texas? Because ideally, if you look across the history of our covers, we would like for you to be able to tell the story of football in the state of Texas. And so we want to reflect the moment. And right now, there is no program in the state that is more reflective of the moment in football than Texas Tech, with what they've built, and specifically the way that they have built, as we call it on the cover, the modern college football machine. And that's what we wanted to reflect, because Texas Tech is in many ways so much more than just a superstar quarterback. Whereas in past years, it would be go back to when Johnny Manziel won the Heisman back in 2012. The next year, we put Johnny Manziel on the cover of the magazine because, hey, he's the superstar player at the program, and we're going to spotlight him. Well, obviously now across college football, those guys sticking around for another year just isn't necessarily what happened. And so as a result, we wanted to focus on what Texas Tech has built and how they've built it, and specifically when you get under the hood, how that machine works. And as a result, you got to quit thinking about them as a college football team or even a college football program. It's a corporation. It's what it is. And when you take a look at the way that we designed the cover, it should kind of look like an org chart. You know, you got Joey McGuire at the top, and then you've got guys who are really important to what they do as well, with the athletic director, Kirby Hocutt, the general manager, James Blanchard, and then you've got the benefactor and the Board of Regents, chair, Cody Campbell on there as well. And then also, yes, of course, it all goes into the team, reflected by Ben Roberts, their outstanding linebacker, there on the cover as well. That is, in many respects, what Texas Tech has built. They have built a sustainable machine to compete in the college football world as it exists in 2026. And we want to make sure we reflected that, because they are in many ways the new normal, and the new way that you can achieve at the highest level in college football is by having that alignment from all levels, whether it's the head coach, whether it's the athletic director, whether it's the general manager, whether it's the benefactor, or whether it's the players, everyone pulling the rope in the same direction. And we want to make sure we reflected that because that does feel like the story of the moment in college football.
Sticking with the covers, Tepper, not only Texas Tech, but you also have Landon Williams-Callis on the cover as well. First player since 2000 was Cedric Benson. What went into that, and why was there such a gap with the players, and what made him the one to put on there?
Yeah, look, this is something we take really seriously, and you know, we take into account our own history whenever we make these decisions. And so when we kind of landed on Landon Williams-Callis, we had a pause and we said, okay, who's the last solo high school player on the cover? The guy who just had a cover to himself, and we had to go back. It's Cedric Benson back in 2000. With high school football, there's so many different stories that you can choose, and we had 8 or 10 ideas for the cover, but we kept coming back to Landon Williams-Callis, a singular star there in the Houston area. You know, a 5-star running back, in my opinion, the most electrifying man in Texas high school football. And specifically, what I think is so remarkable about the story is that whereas I think that he is the prospect of Internet 3.0. And here's what I mean by that, okay? Cedric Benson was Internet 1.0. You heard about him, right? It was on message boards, maybe. There was this, he was a mythological figure that you heard about. Oh man, out there at Midland Lee, they've got this running back who can run through a brick wall, right? But you didn't necessarily see him. I think Internet 2.0 was Kyler Murray. Because Kyler Murray was the first one that you got to watch YouTube clips of. And you got to say, oh, that kid, he's special. Look what he's doing at the Texas high school football level, and look what he's doing at Allen. He was Internet 2.0. In many respects, Landon Williams-Callis is Internet 3.0. This is a guy who has been the guy as far as a top-tier prospect since he was in middle school. He is a guy whose reputation has preceded him. And now he is in high school football a megastar, which comes along with a lot of other things. It comes along with social media chirping. It comes along with a lot of criticism. It comes along with a lot of things that I think other prospects in the past have not had to deal with. And that's why I think what makes him such a remarkable figure. Yes, of course, the story is about player good. He is very good. He's a spectacular player, but also he is emblematic of the new high school football superstar in the way that that high school, football has grown and become a 24/7, 365 talking sport. He is really emblematic of that for all the good and ill that comes with it.
How has the changes that you mentioned there, just the difference in high school football players, quicker to make money, and just it seems like there's more transfers. There's just all this stuff that's sort of going on. Just how have you sort of personally seen the sport sort of evolve here the last 2-3 years? Has it been noticeable, or is that mostly like reserved for college football only?
It's been noticeable. I'll tell you what, like for one thing, we'll talk about, I think, the good. The good is I think there are more people who are into high school football these days than ever before. I think it used to be kind of a thing that maybe you paid attention to. Maybe when it got to state semifinals or your local team was doing well, you'd pay attention to it. Now I think you have more and more people who are into high school football and paying attention to high school football. And I think that's good. I think the growth is the sport is growing. People are more interested in it. And as I think part of it is that you can stream games now. I think there's a lot of reasons why that happens. There is, of course, some downsides, some other sides. I won't even say downsides. I want to assign a value to it. You do have more player movement. You do have more, more, I think, scrutiny as opposed to in the past where if players were to transfer, you wouldn't necessarily pay attention to it, or if players were to move schools, you wouldn't necessarily pay attention to it. Now it's a big deal, and people are noticing it. I think that it's overall positive that people are looking at high school football no longer as just a pipeline to get to the next level, because I do think that high school football, we've always believed here at Dave Campbell's, high school football has intrinsic value, and winning a state championship and competing at the highest level matters in high school football. Certainly it is a changing landscape, and there are players and I think that it is the kind of thing where high school football is growing. There are some growing pains that come along with that, but I think that overall the sport is in a relatively healthy place, and I think that overall more people paying attention to the sport is a good thing.
That aspect.
Greg, you there?
You there?
Yeah, I got you.
Try again, Gary.
Yeah, I was saying, like, with the change from physical media and people going away from physical media over the past few years, how have y'all adapted and still been able to stay on top of it with this magazine?
I'm sorry, did you say physical media is going out? What? This is the first that I am hearing of this as the editor-in-chief of a magazine. I got a college degree in newspaper journalism in 2008 on purpose. So that kind of tells you the kind of guy you're dealing with here. Look, we are not blind to the fact that that people are not necessarily running to pick up magazines as recently as as often as they did when Dave Campbell launched the magazine back in 1960. But we tried to adapt, and we tried to be a little bit more around the clock. And of course, TexasFootball.com, we've got tons of stuff there. But I think the biggest thing has been our streaming aspect, and I know that you guys are super passionate about this thing as well. That there's a conversation to be had year round about football in the state of Texas. I know you guys have not found the bottom of the well for the appetite for people to talk football in Texas. Neither have we. And so, we've tried to deliver that through our own live shows, through our podcasts, through TexasFootball.com. And then, of course, our streaming platform. We stream more than 2,000 live events across the state of Texas every year. And that's been a big part of our growth as well. Look, the great thing is, and the great gift that Dave Campbell gave us is that he built a brand that people trust, that people know, and that people respect. And as a result, we can take that brand and we can say, we can give you what you want from a football perspective. It may not be in a 400-page magazine. It may be on an app, on our app. It may be on our website. It may be through our streaming platform. It may be through our podcast. It may be through our shows. Whatever it may be, it's going to come from Dave Campbell's, and that ultimately is such a power for us, because people hear the name Dave Campbell's and they know, okay, these guys know a little bit of ball. They know they're coming from a place that has covered the sport for 67 years, and that we take it seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah, that name carries a lot of weight, and I still love the physical magazine. Like, I know it's great to have an option, but people still collect them and have their collections from over the years, and it's all very cool. But Greg, I did want to. I know sometimes just wrenches get thrown into things. Was Ben Roberts always intended to be on the cover? Was there any chance that it was going to be Brendan Sorsby? Like, did you guys have to pivot there at all? I was just curious about that.
I guess I can break some news here on your show. Yeah. We had done a cover shoot with Brendan Sorsby. We had done a shoot with him. We have photos. I think maybe even the only photos that exist of him in the 2026 Texas Tech uniform. We did a photo shoot with him the same time we did a photo shoot with three of the other gentlemen, with Joey McGuire, with Kirby Hokut, and with James Blanchard. We had to get Cody Campbell at a later date. But yeah, the plan was to have Brendan Sorsby on the cover. Obviously, gestures broadly at everything. We had to pivot, and we were really pleased to land on Ben Roberts. And I'll tell you that in talking with tech folks, they were really excited that we were able to feature Ben Roberts, who's a guy who has been such a heartbeat for that defense. Of course, the Big 12 defensive and Big 12 title game defensive MVP with that remarkable interception that we tried to recreate on the cover. This is obviously it was a pivot. But at the same time, in many respects, this is a guy who is kind of that scarlet and black that Texas Tech through and through, and represents the program. So we're pleased with the way it worked out. Would it have saved me a couple of gray hairs? Yes, absolutely. But yeah, we had some other plans, but the news is always breaking. We have to be nimble with it.
Greg, it's been a couple of weeks back since Cody Campbell made the remarks about the high school game, about the games being played on Friday night, the Tech and the Houston. We're about a year into this now, and your conversations with high school coaches, do they still really care about that, or is there some care about the games being played on Friday nights?
I think there is. I think that there is, and especially when you talk with folks around the Texas High School Coaches Association, they're pretty passionate about keeping Friday night sacred for high school football in the state of Texas. And I think that, I don't want to get all back in my day, but I think it used to be that you would watch high school football on Saturday, you'd watch college football or high school football on Friday, college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. And there was kind of a rhythm to it. Now, obviously, all of that's gotten jumbled. The NFL has done more and more land grabbing. And I understand where the Big 12 is coming from trying to get out there. But I will tell you that coaches generally don't like it. They would prefer that they have Friday nights to themselves. We're all, competing for eyeballs. We're all competing for attention. But I know that I think that when Cody Campbell kind of speaks out against Friday night games, I know that the Texas High School Coaches Association has spoken out against it. My personal opinion is that it should be Friday night should be for high school football. I also understand the mechanics of television deals and things like that, and that what I want doesn't necessarily jive with what is going to be best for business. But I do know that in talking with coaches, they would really prefer to have Friday night to themselves, and that be the night that is really based around their communities, and that we're not segmenting the population based on whether or not you're a bigger high school football fan or a college football fan.
All right, Greg, just one more question or so. You've been very patient. We appreciate your time. So we talked Red Raider Inc. on the cover, and you guys amazing and just responding to having to pivot and doing so very well, I should say. It's a great cover. And then also Landon Williams Callis on the gatefold cover as well. You're going to have your typical previews of all the high school teams and divisions and districts and pro sports and all. But what can people who have maybe dabbled but maybe also haven't dabbled, what else can they expect beyond kind of what we discussed here?
Yeah, look, there's 50 college football teams in the state of Texas now, 50, with Shriner joining, at the small college level. So we've got previews of every college football team. We've redone our conference previews in the magazine to be a little bit more accessible, including for the first time in Dave Campbell's Texas football history, a Pac-12 preview, which makes me a little crazy. But with Texas State joining the Pac-12, we had to add them. So we have an ACC and Pac-12 preview in the magazine because, of course, we do. And then, of course, there's the college section or the high school section. More than 1,500 high school football teams previewed, from the largest school in the state, which is Allen, down to the small school in the state, which is Headley, which has an enrollment of 22. We've got you covered from stem to stern, and that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is being comprehensive. We've also got a bunch of new fun things in there, including we're launching what we call our Ultimate 50, which is, from a recruiting perspective, the 50 most valuable prospects, regardless of classification or position. So yeah, you've got players who are going to be sophomores this year who are ranked higher than players who are going to be seniors, and we want to make sure we give people something new to look at every single year. It's 400 pages of football goodness. We tried very hard this year for a change, and so we're excited for everybody to get their hands on it.
Tepper, last thing for you, and it's kind of random, but as a Mizzou guy, when the Ahmad Hardy situation came down, what were your initial thoughts, and how does that change your outlook for the Tigers this season?
Look, it's obviously a change, right? I think it's going to be interesting. I think Ahmad Hardy, obviously it's a difficult situation. He was obviously going to be the bell cow back for them. I would say it's unlikely that we'll see him, in the uniform. I think, actually, of all the things that Eli Drinkwitz has been able to do, and I've had my own criticisms of him, he's been able to establish a running back room and a running game out of seemingly nowhere, right? This is a guy who's never had a problem kind of stocking his running back room and being able to run the ball. I think, obviously, with the Ahmad Hardy situation, they would prefer to have him in the backfield. But considering that's probably not going to be an option, I think they'll still be fine. I thought they're kind of middle of the pack in the SEC this year to begin with. I don't think that necessarily changes my outlook, but I'm sure they'll find a way to break my heart per usual.
All right, man. What does everybody need to know as far as getting their dose of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, the 2026 edition?
Best way to get it is go to texasfootball.com/subscribe. We'll mail it to you before it hits newsstands. Subscribers will start getting it mid to late June. If you want to wait till it gets on the newsstands, go to your local grocery store is probably the best way to go, or local bookstore. And you can go to and that'll be out late June to early July. I will say that usually the Texas Sports Hall of Fame there in Waco usually has them pretty early, wink, wink. So maybe watch their social media feeds and their news, because they usually have magazines earlier than most. So keep an eye on that. But TexasFootball.com/subscribe is always the best place to get it.
Can't wait to read it all, man. Great stuff. And Greg, thanks so much for being patient with us through a technical difficulty. Thanks so much for your time, and have a great week, man. We really appreciate you as always.
All right, boys, take care.
Thanks a lot. There's Greg Tepper, managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and appreciate him jumping on to discuss the magazine and its upcoming release. It is one of those things. It's like seeing that mile marker of like, I'm almost home. I've just got 5 minutes to go. You see the Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine reveal, and you're like, all right, we're a couple months away from the start of all of the football madness in the best kind of way. And it's a great way to start dipping your toes into the water and just reading up on, like, do you have a preference? Do you go straight to the high school section? Do you dabble in anything in particular? And I also like what he said there about kind of the ranking of the recruits they're doing. That sounds like it'll be fun.
For me, I usually look at like districts I've always kept an eye on. So I'll go back to, I'm from Oglesby, so I'll kind of see where they have them positioned. And then I'll go more so like to the East Texas area and look at what those districts are shaping out like. And then I'll work my way to the college. That's typically how I approach the magazine. What about you?
I kind of do the same thing. I'll go look at my alma mater, which is now Tyler Legacy, and I'll kind of look over the district, although the district is not familiar to me the totally way that it was. So I just kind of look over and I see some of the names. I'm like, oh, now I'm at the age where it's weird. It's like, oh, I think that's like the son of my friend, or that's the dude who I had class with or whatever, which is really bizarre, but that's where we are in life now. But it's also very cool in a way. But yeah, I typically go to my alma mater and then just kind of look around there. And I really do kind of start front and then just work my way through. Yeah, just to read some of the features. And as we broke a little bit of news there, I had to ask the question.
Oh, you have to.
Yes, Brendan Sorsby was supposed to be on the cover. They had photographed him for the cover. There's pictures that exist of him in tech gear, and he was going to be on that cover. And obviously things changed, and I don't know when we're going to hear some more news on that front. Maybe tomorrow we'll have some finality on the decision. I know it was expected late in the week, possibly, but that's a shame, man. And I know Mike Craven wrote a bunch, and to have that I don't even know what your reaction. I guess the next time we talk to Mike, we'll have to get his thoughts. But to go and put all that effort in and then get the alert that this guy you just wrote all those words about, or this guy who you just based your whole magazine cover on, he's probably not even going to play there this year. Or if he is, it's going to be a little bit of a wait. Oh man, what a curveball you weren't expecting.
No, there's no way I would want to deal with that mess. But they did a good job of navigating it. They're very professional, and I'm interested to see what Mike says about that. Yeah,
me too. So Ben Roberts on there, a great player. So he definitely fits the mold, and I think that's really cool that that actually turned into his favor, where he can now say he was a Dave Campbell's cover boy. And also good to get Greg's thoughts on just kind of embracing what is the machine and just saying it is what it is now. I mean, let's just not sugarcoat and pretend like it's the same old way of things. And this is very much a business. And so, let's put the AD and put the recruiting coordinator and all those guys on the cover as well. So Greg laid out the information. You can go to Dave Campbell's TexasFootball.com/subscribe and get your order in to get the new edition. But we do appreciate Greg for being with us, and we'll take a break here as we get on into the 4:00 hour. When we come back, we're going to talk. Gary had the idea of just kind of throwing some questions out there when it comes to college football in general, and we're going to take a little bit of a look at the Big 12 in particular, but this will expand into more national questions over the course of the next couple of days. So we're going to get into that. We've also got Brandon Huffman at 247 Sports will be joining us about half an hour from now to talk Elite 11 and just impressions and news coming out of that event as we start to dabble again with a little bit of the high school recruiting side of things. That's all coming up here in the next half hour or so. Thanks for being with us as always. Appreciate your patience as well, and we'll be right back. This is 365 Sports.
In the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery,
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Spring is here, and so are the savings during Richard Card's Spring into Savings sales event.
Right now, save $13,000 on a GMC Sierra with qualified trade-in. Or qualified buyers get 2.9% financing for 72 months. Get a 2026 Sierra for $585 a month with qualified trade-in. All GMC Sierra 2500 HDs are $9,000 off right now.
Spring into action and save. Get your next ride at the Spring into Savings event at Richard Card.
Richard Card, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
And I'm Craig Smoke, and today joined by Garrett Ross as Smokey is on vacation for the next couple of days. So glad to be with you and appreciate Garrett's time. And we got a lot to talk about here over the course of the remainder of this show, including Brandon Huffman, who, man, I've been saying 247 because that's where he was for the longest time. But Garrett's like trying to follow college football players these days. It's like, oh, he's still at Stanford right now. It's like, no, he's at Oregon State now. It's like, oh, you know, Brandon Huffman on 3. So he will be joining us to talk Elite 11 here in just a little bit. And everybody's just on the move nowadays.
Dude, On 3 has created the monopoly. They're taking everybody. I'm not surprised that he moved over there, you know, and a best of luck to him, but they have assembled a squad when it comes to covering recruiting.
Yeah, no, they definitely have. So, look forward to getting his insights here in just a little bit. Also got John McClain of the Houston Chronicle join us as he typically does each week at around 5 o'clock to talk a couple of the big movements in the NFL earlier this year. And thanks to Greg Tepper again, talking the Texas Tech cover, and also Landon Williams-Callis, I guess one of the top. Do you know much about Landon Williams-Callis?
I honestly don't. I'm really not too familiar with Landon Williams-Callis. He's one that LSU wasn't really in on him and Baylor wasn't, so I honestly didn't focus too much.
Right, yeah. There's only so much info your brain can process with all these recruits, but I thought I said Oregon State commit earlier, and really I think what that was the link led to the fact that his cousin is Jacquez Rogers.
Okay.
So that was because when I said that, I was like, that sounds weird, but also I know he's not like incredibly highly rated, so I was like, okay, he could be at Oregon State, but no, it's just got that connection with Jacquez Rogers and James Rogers, both of Oregon State, that are his cousins. So we'll see. He's got offers from Indiana, SMU, Oregon, Houston, Mizzou. Man, Tepper trying to get his Tigers on the lead with the fold cover there. It's like, hey, I can tell you all about Columbia. It's great. But no, that was fun. And I hadn't talked to Greg in a while, so can't wait to get my hands on the physical copy and maybe even the electronic copy as well, so I can see it wherever, whenever. But right now, let's get into a little bit of discussion. Wanted to just kind of talk some football and the upcoming 2026 season. So Garrett had the idea to just kind of throw some questions out there and give our 2 cents on it. And today we're going to take more of a Big 12 look. And tomorrow we will expand it out and do more of a national version of these questions. But let's go ahead and get into it and talk about 4 questions in particular. And this is just riffing and just bar talk, really, as much as anything what a show like this is supposed to be for. And we'll start off with the first question, and that is, which Big 12 coach do you trust the most? Which Big 12 coach do you trust the most? And I had a answer that popped into my head pretty quickly, and I'm going to go with that answer, but I also need to follow it up with like a 1B answer, because look, you got 16 coaches, you've got 16 quarterbacks, because we're going to talk some quarterbacks here as well. You're probably going to have more than one answer, but as far as the Big 12 coach I trust the most, and again, tomorrow will be national version of this, I said Kalani Sitake. I just think with the rhythm that BYU finds itself in, him fending off overtures and deciding to stick around in Provo, he's a lifer there at this point. The program's in the best shape that it's probably ever been in. It's on the verge of even more excellence if they can just kind of break through and beat a Texas Tech. But yeah, I would say I have full faith and confidence that BYU is going to be a really good team under Kalani Sitake. I will say my caveat, or not my caveat, but like my other name that popped immediately into mind, there was actually a couple of them. I really trust Willie Fritz. So I wouldn't have no problem presenting him as one of the answers here. And also have that feeling with Kenny Dillingham of where I just feel like he gets it, man, and he's just going to always be okay regardless of Sam Levitt deciding to leave or whatever. So I'll stick with Sitake, but Fritz and Dillingham would be right up there as well for me.
It's funny because I went with Dillingham.
Okay.
But I talked myself out of Fritz
Okay.
for the same reason that you laid out there. But no, I feel like Kenny Dillingham, to me, he's one of the best young minds that we have in the game right now. And Arizona State is truly lucky to have him, and they're lucky that they've been able to keep him with the woes there of trying to find the money to finance the program and everything, which is still baffling to me that you're in a metropolitan area like Phoenix. You can't have people support you. Hopefully that'll be the case, though. But he made Jeff Sims look really good, which is almost impossible, like given his career and everything that we've seen. He had he had him in the Big 12 championship the first year there, and he just continues to recruit. And I think the pipeline that they've been able to lay into Texas is within the next couple of years, when you start getting more of those kids coming in, you're going to see Arizona State become even more dangerous. So I'm going with Kenny Dillingham, but like I mentioned, Willie Fritz would be 1B for me.
Yeah, if Willie Fritz and Houston go and win like 10 games again, then like I think there's no question he's coach of the year. I guess it would depend. I mean, if Kalani Sitake and BYU go 12-0 or something, then you'd have to give it to them. But I do think the Big 12 a bit of a fascinating puzzle behind Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Like Tech's just the obvious default. And they should be, quite frankly. But what does the rest of it look like? I think Houston's going to be really good. I've got them winning 10 games, dude.
You should.
Yeah.
There's no reason that Houston shouldn't win 10 games. I mean, they're really solid. You bring back Connor Wigman. You brought back Amari Thomas. Now losing Tanner Koziel, you're going to have to overcome that. But, I mean, they're solid, dude.
Yeah, they are. So that's part of my schedule series I've been doing. I've been working my way through. Just dropped Oklahoma State and my prediction for them officially. And we'll get into the remainder of the Big 12 if you want to check that out on the YouTube page, 365 Sports YT. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's somewhere where you're looking right now. Just look in the video section and you can find that. And I'm going to move on to various conferences throughout the rest of the summer. But spoiler, I'm really high on Houston. You can still watch the video to see what couple of losses I do give them, though. All right, so coach, trust the most. I said Sitake. You said Dillingham. The coach with the most to prove out of the Big 12 in 2026. Why don't you go first here?
I'm going to go Coach Prime.
Okay.
I've never been a fan of the hire, maybe because, like you, I mean, we've seen the whole Prime prep. We've seen everything that it goes into it. You brought in your sons who you coach and everything. And then once Shadur left, Shiloh left, Travis Hunter, I was always going to be, how do you recruit? Like your whole philosophy was, I'm not going to go out and recruit. And I understand that you're a star, your celebrity status, it's hard for you to go somewhere, but you still need to be on the road and still create those relationships. The product on the field, while you had that solid first year, you were the gap that you fell off last year was significant. So can you get it somewhere in between this year? Can you at least get bowl eligible? And I think that would be a miracle, honestly, for Colorado. But with the health issues, all of the way things are going right now, I think a lot of Colorado people, like true Colorado people, not like the prime Colt people, are out on this. So how much longer do you have the backing of your fan base and your administration? It's going to be a really interesting year for Coach Prime.
And there is a difference with the Colorado fan base.
Absolutely
There is a cult of personality, and it's not always a bad thing, but there is definitely a Colorado fan base that's always been there, that went to school there. They've been through the thick and thin. And then there's all of the newly arrived that followed Prime and have their opinions. And for some of them, not all of them, but for some of them, he can do absolutely no wrong. Yep. It's a familiar tale with cult of personality types of all shapes and sizes and levels of power. And with him, it's no different, where if they suck, it's not his fault. Somehow it's somebody else's fault. But they've had such an incredible amount of turnover that it's really tough to know where they land. And I am not high on them. I've said that a few times, but I will gladly be wrong. I mean, if they can come out and get bowl eligible, then I think I'll do a solo just, hey, give credit to Dion promo for him because he would deserve it. I don't see it personally right now, given all the changes.
No, and also you need to have a really good season if you want to keep Juju Lewis. If you do not show some growth or some hope for the future, he's going to hit the portal.
Yes, very likely he could, and whatever else they have of that caliber of talent. I think you start to see some cracks in the armor, and you go, all right, they're going to be getting poached left and right because you're not winning football games. So I think it's a really important year for Dion coming up. I said for my answer to the question of Big 12 head coach with most to prove, I said Lance Leipold of Kansas. Just feel like with Dion, he's got that celebrity factor where even if they lose, there's still going to be support there. And he's also making a ton of money. And so that can go both ways. But I think in the basis of this question of who needs to prove something, I think it's Lance Leipold to prove that Kansas is still on a good trajectory. I think some of the air has been let out of the Jayhawks balloon the last couple of years. Now, a couple of years ago, had a pretty good little run, but Jalen Daniels and the health issues, it's just been a situation where that was really problematic for them. And I think definitely threw a bit of a hiccup into their momentum. But then he comes back, and then it's just, I don't know, it didn't turn back into what it was just a few years ago. And so they've just been kind of struggling on along here. Now there's no Jalen Daniels. Now you've got a couple of different quarterbacks. Cole Ballard, is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be Chase Jenkins that you brought in from Rice? I doubt it'll be him, but they've got like three quarterbacks they can lean on. But I think after 5-7 and 5-7, you had the 9 wins a couple years ago. You thought, hey, the Jayhawks are flying high. They're going to be great. Now they got to make a bowl game, man. Or else I feel like you're 3 years without a postseason. That's not what you have Lance Leipold for.
No, it's not. And look, I don't understand, like last season was unorthodox. You weren't able to play at home and everything. And I think that did, take a toll on the team. Sure. But at the same time, they didn't look the same. And it's weird too, to look back and think, man, we really missed Jason Bean. He really saved us. When you think about it, because when Jalen Daniels was hurt, it was Jason Bean that saved the day, and they just weren't able to have that once he had left. And you're right. I'm right there with you, man. Like Kansas should be good. They should be competing for bowl eligibility, but I don't know what to make with Lance Leipold right now.
Yeah. So 5-5 or 5-7, 5-7, and now can they get back to the postseason? If they can, I think it would be encouraging, but is it 6 wins and you're getting the 6th one at the end of the year?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're probably still okay, but I think if you miss a bowl game 3 years running, that's not Jalen Daniels being banged up. That's like this program's just kind of spinning its wheels, and Kansas fans are all too familiar with that. So, I think Lance Leipold and KU have something to prove. All right, a couple more questions. Quarterback you trust the most in the league this year. And last year was a bit more star-studded, I feel like. You've had some departures, obviously, Sam Levitt being one of those guys. You've had Jalen Daniels graduate, among others. I'm going to go with the most veteran of veterans, and that's Noah Fifita at Arizona. I mean, a guy who's played a ton of football, who was a big part of why Arizona exceeded expectations a year ago. I only anticipate he's going to be just as good, if not even better. Another year into Brent Brennan's system and just another year under his belt. I think there are some questions just for Arizona in general, but they're shaping up to be pretty good and very well could be that kind of surprise team that ends up in the Big 12 championship conversation at some point in the year. And a large part of that will be Noah Fifita guiding the way. So as far as the quarterback I trust the most in the Big 12 this year, I am saying Noah Fifita of Arizona. What about you?
I'm going to ride with Connor Wigman. And it really goes to the experience at this point, the understanding of the system in Houston. I think he meshes well with Willie Fritz and what they're trying to do there. This is a kid that has 26 starts in his career, 13 at Houston, 13 at A&M. So he's seen just about every defense that you could throw at him. He does have more weapons to work with this year. Now, they really need to establish a rushing attack. The injuries last year kind of really decimated their backfield, but they've done a good job of addressing the offensive line through the portal. They've gotten better there. They've gotten some more weapons on the outside as well. Having Amari Thomas come back is really big for them. But like I mentioned a while ago, you're going to have to replace Tanner Koziel. And when you look, like, him and Dean Connors carried the way last year for them. So if you can replace what you're losing there, I think you're going to be fine. But I really like the leadership, the experience, and just really this new look Connor Wigman that we've seen with the Cougars.
Yeah, so Brennan Sorsby could have been an answer here, but I think obviously we're ruling him out for right now because we don't know if he'll even play. Mestamaker's a wild card, even though I think he'd be really good. Bachmeier, I think he'll be really good. But, I mean, Noah Fifita's got like 3 years of playing time on Bach, or 2 years of playing time on Bachmeier. He's been doing it a while longer, so I just trust him a little bit more.
No, and I was looking too the other day that I believe this is the first year that Noah Fifita will have his the whole coaching staff back on the offense. So that should help as well. And like losing T-Mac, he was going to take a step back, but Arizona was able to keep him there. Noah Fifita could have went to any school in the nation.
Oh yeah, so, he was definitely a prize in the portal if he had jumped in there.
So they were lucky to keep him. I think they're going to have the right pieces around him this year, and he's going to flourish. But Arizona's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, and then there's just a bunch of wild card quarterbacks in the Big 12. All these new guys that have come in, but then you also have like Avery Johnson, but I don't know that I trust him more than I trust Noah Fifita. I think he'll be really good with Klein back, Dampier at Utah too. But I'm going there with what did I just say? With Noah Fifita as the quarterback I trust the most. And the last question today, just doing a little sampler platter, looking around and looking forward to this next season. Sticking with quarterbacks, the quarterback with the most to prove in the Big 12 this year. And you go first here.
I'm actually going to go Avery Johnson. Okay. Because I think if we polled the Kansas State fan base, they would be disappointed on what they've gotten from Avery Johnson up to this point, given the expectations coming in. He needs to develop more as a passer. He got away from the rushing last year, which I don't understand that. Like, if you have the wheels, use them, especially when it's like the game's on the line. Having Colin Klein back, a system that you were familiar with and you had success with. Now, do you have the playmakers around you? That's going to be a question, but I think Avery Johnson has the most to prove of the quarterbacks in the Big 12.
All right, and I'll wrap it up with this. I'm saying DJ Lagway's got the most to prove. He's the kind of the savior of Baylor's recruiting offseason. Without him, I think you're really kind of poo-pooing the idea of what they can accomplish this year, but he at least gives you a little bit of a star power influence and an idea that, all right, maybe this guy's 5-star can come in here and kind of shake things up for the better, and he'll be better. He's got Spavital, like he'll be more comfortable, and it just won't be all weird like it was last year in Gainesville. And hopefully he's healthier, at this point, but I think DJ Lagway is a number one recruit type of guy, number one quarterback type of prospect. I think he's joining a team that has a lot to prove, and a head coach that I don't know even if he went undefeated would really prove anything to his fan base at this point. I think everybody's just kind of out on Aranda, but I think Lagway has plenty that he can prove. So I say him for that category right there.
I'm honestly intrigued by Lagway because just thinking about the offensive line isn't going to be that great do you like what playmakers do you have? Like you're going to rely on Lewis Brown, who had like 4 games last year, coming over from Colorado State to be your guy. Then you have a lot of young guys that you're trying to throw to, whether it's Taz Williams or Jaden Porter and them, who Jaden Porter didn't even compete in fall camp or spring football. So I'm intrigued what Lagway looks like in this offense. I honestly expect that he's going to have to use his legs a lot and really rely on the rushing, which is why I personally believe you're seeing him put in the work right now with the footwork king, with the coach on the side to get his reps in. He looks good on the ground. I don't know if he's going to have the playmakers to get the most out of him here.
Yeah, I think it's a big TBD, and it's one that's going to guide Baylor's season one way or the other. Like I know Clanderman and the defense can definitely make a big difference, but I still got to score points. And if Lagway's not playing at a high level, then I really, to your point, I don't know how they're scoring points. I mean, Dawson Pendergrass is not going to run for 2,000 yards and 40 touchdowns or something.
But that's another thing. If you're relying on the backfield, like Pendergrass missed all last year with the injury, and then you had Caden Jenkins get hurt at the end of the year. Josh Dobbs had a history of injuries coming in. So you're looking at all your backfield has been hit with the injury bug. I'm intrigued to see how the season unfolds, man.
Yeah, me too. There's a lot of kind of do or die scenarios for people on the Baylor side of things, from Aranda all through his staff, and then even Lagway. As we're mentioning here, I think he's the Big 12 quarterback with the most to prove. So fun little exercise, taking a look at coaches and quarterbacks and giving some of our thoughts on the 2026 season upcoming. Do you agree, disagree? Let us know in the comments. Appreciate you being along for the ride, both on Twitter and on YouTube. And we are not done. Still got a ways to go here. And speaking of quarterbacks, Elite 11 has come and gone, but a lot of interesting stuff coming out of that annual event. And Brandon Huffman of On3 is going to break it down and talk all about it with us. Coming up next, Brandon Huffman of On3. This is The SMOAK Show on 365 Sports.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery,
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
And thanks for being back with us here on the SMOAK Show. Craig Smoke with you. Smokey is in Florida on vacation, but I am not alone, joined by Garrett Ross as well. And we are happy to also be joined now on the phone lines or on video, I believe, by Brandon Huffman, National Recruiting Analyst for Rivals and On3. And there he is. Brandon, good to see you, man. Appreciate your time. And we want to talk a little about the vibes and recruiting and all that, but particularly Elite 11 this past weekend, the annual event, quarterback showcase. And with all of the changes and just the way things are just sort of different across the board these days, how is Elite 11 the same as we kind of once knew it? And how has that event also evolved here over the last few years?
You know, it was interesting because, you know, we're at an era where guys would have given anything to be able to participate in the Elite 11. And in years past, it would be hard to turn down that opportunity. Now we've had in subsequent years, the number one quarterbacks in some of these classes say they have no need to go. There's no reason to go. Bryce Underwood didn't attend. Arch Manning didn't attend. And, you know, it maybe doesn't have the allure that it once did because there's other opportunities or there's the need for maybe compensation. But this year is one of those years where you had the top quarterbacks in the country there. The number one ranked quarterback in the country came back. So it kind of was a return to the roots, if you will, with the amount of players that were there. And then also at the same time, you also kind of had a microcosm of what the portal has done, because one of the college counselors there was Damon Williams, who had, you know, reaffirmed that he was returning to Washington, and then a few days later goes into the portal and potentially was going to end up at LSU. He's back as an Elite 11 counselor, but I think it kind of perfectly encapsulated where we're at in 2026.
Brandon, what stood out to you the most by that second day performance that Israel Adams put together?
I mean, he was just absolutely on the money. You know, what makes it hard about the pro day is that you got to sit there and watch all the other quarterbacks go. And I think Israel Abrams was the 19th quarterback to go out of the 20. And if you count the three college counselors that also threw, he was the 22nd quarterback. So you have to sit there, go through a warm-up, go through the accuracy challenge on one side of the field, and then still deliver. And he had the best performance in the actual pro day. Now, Peter Bork ended up getting the top player of the day because of his performance in the pro day and the accuracy challenge. But Israel Abrams had to sit there and wait the longest. And keep in mind, he's from the East Coast. So that's getting a little bit later to his body clock. And I just think the accuracy, and it was like the more throws he made, the even more accurate, the even better and the bigger the throws looked as he got on. And it was getting late in the night, having to sit around and watch. And so I thought he was just so sharp over the course of that pro day. And he left as probably my favorite performer that night.
How skilled are quarterbacks, particularly in on-field exercise and things of that nature, compared to even 5 or 10 years ago? Have we seen the specialization and the all-year-round sort of now it's notable more so than ever before of just how trained these guys are?
Yeah, and I think it's not just in quarterback play. I think it's everything. There's almost a choreographed nature to how these guys act. I don't want to call them robotic because they're still 17, 16, some of them are 18 and 19, but they're still teenagers. You know, so there is a little bit of maybe a rehearsedness to their talking, but everything looks so much more. I mean, the mechanics look much more refined. You know, part of that's because we've seen the scientific aspect of quarterback mechanics with a guy like Tom House, the former Major League pitcher, and the way that he's involved. You know, the scientific and the metrics in quarterback development. You're seeing guys that it's almost like watching baseball, where it's all about exit velo and all of those kind of things, rather than just throwing the ball. You see a lot more technically sound quarterbacks. At the same time, you have guys that are very set in their way because of the technique And when they get to college, there's still going to be some changes that whatever quarterback coach that they're working with or the offensive coordinator that they're working with may want to tinker with it. They're almost too refined where there may be some rigidity there about if they can even change kind of maybe some of those mechanics when they get to the next level.
How would you grade the performance that Peyton Houston had at Elite 11?
I mean, he was a top 3 guy. You mentioned Israel Abrams, and I thought that Israel Abrams, Peter Bork, and Peyton Houston probably were the top 3 on the pro day, and that included, everything. It was the short throws, the intermediate throws, the deep throws, and watching the ball come out of his hand. I mean, you hear the phrase a lot. He's got dynamite in his elbow. He might have had the most pure throwing motion of anybody there. The ball probably whistled out of his arm the most of any of the quarterbacks there from the high schoolers. Jaron Sungapolatelli, he had the best arm there regardless of who the quarterbacks were. But when you watch Peyton, it was just consistent. I mean, he was a guy that it was like his performance all week was just steady. It would go up and it didn't dip. It would just kind of stay steady. And so I was really impressed with his performance. Comes in with a lot of attention. You don't look at him and think, oh, this is the biggest guy out there. But man, the ball comes out of his arm like he's a big 6'4" kind of rifle thrower.
Love the way you just rattled off JKS's name there. You clearly said it. You've had some practice. Jaron Sungapolatelli. Yeah, like we all are going to know it too. But yeah, love the reference there. So Trey Taylor, Nebraska commit, the MVP of the event. How hopeful should Huskers fans be? How quickly can that hope translate? What stands out about Trey Taylor? Why he is such a prize for Matt Rule and company?
Yeah, and I mentioned that from Saturday night, you had Bork and Houston and Abrams, who were probably the best in the pro day. But if you go from the time they stepped on the field on Friday afternoon until Sunday morning, the most consistent performer the entire weekend had to have been Trey Taylor. And I mentioned that, sometimes there is a roboticness to it. I don't want to call Trey Taylor a robot at all. I just think that the guy is so mature and he speaks so well that it almost feels like, it is unnatural. But, his dad was even saying that he's been coached in how to speak. And it's evident that the guy is not going to give up more information. This is a guy that Ohio State's still trying to pursue, and he's handled that part of it very well. He made the move from Illinois to Nebraska, to immerse himself in Nebraska football and playing high school ball there. And, there's a lot of attention on him because he's got kind of a social media following, and Nebraska fans are a very rabid fan base. I mean, 3 years ago, one of the top quarterbacks there was Dylan Raiola. At the time, he was committed to Georgia, though he ultimately ended up being a Nebraska signee. But Trey Taylor goes into this event as a Nebraska commit. There was a ton of Nebraska media there. There's a ton of Nebraska fans in the stands. And if you're watching that, you cannot help but get excited about what Trey Taylor can do because, again, the consistency, the character, the personality. This is a guy that thrives with the spotlight. And, maybe there were times during Dylan Raiola's time in Lincoln that he maybe wilted a bit under the pressure. Trey Taylor seems like the kind of guy that's like, hey, where is the pressure? Let me go find that and let me go throw myself in that because I'm ready for it.
Brandon, we live in a world where people still question Kalen DeBoer being a good coach, yet he's got Elijah Haven, he's got Trent Seaborn. How rare is that to have 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks in the same class going to the same school, especially this day and time?
Yeah, and I lived in Seattle for 20 years. I was there when Kalen DeBoer took what Jimmy Lake absolutely impaled under Chris Peterson, and Kalen DeBoer resurrected that thing quickly. So the guy can coach no matter what, and he can coach quarterbacks. And, I look at what he did with a guy, a former Elite 11 quarterback, and Jake Haener, who maybe didn't have the physical statutes, goes to Washington, doesn't work out, goes to Fresno State, becomes draft pick. You look at Trent Seaborn, you don't necessarily think this is a guy that has all the physical traits. We've known about him for so long because he was playing varsity down in Alabama as an 8th grader, originally from Hawaii. But it kind of reminds me of, about 10 years ago when at this same event, Tua Tagovailoa was committed to Alabama, was the MVP of the event, and then they got Mac Jones to commit, even though knew Tua was coming in. He was committed to Kentucky and flipped there. So, that was rare in 2016. Now imagine 10 years later to have 2 quarterback commits, period, going to a school, let alone 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks. So that's going to be very fascinating to watch how the Seaborn and Haven dynamic works. obviously, the one that's in a better position to, and a lot could be dependent on who wins the starting job this year. Is it going to be Austin Mack, who's going into year 4? Is it Keelan Russell, who's in year 2? If Austin Mack doesn't get the job, Keelan Russell does. Mack may, look to leave after the season. And now if you're Haven or Seaborn, you've got only 1 year you got to wait. But if it's an Austin Mack situation where he's a starter, probably has it for another 2, then maybe Russell leaves. And so now there's even more of a battle. So that's going to be a fascinating kind of dynamic for them to watch. And, it feels like every year Kalen DeBoer's got something else that he gets to add to deal with, which, that's the beauty of taking the job at Alabama. There's always something that's going to be a little bit of extra drama. It's going to get a little bit of extra attention, but what a problem to have. 2 elite out of them quarterbacks to choose from.
We're talking quarterback prospects and the Elite 11 here with Brandon Huffman, national recruiting analyst, Rivals and On3. And Brandon, just a couple more questions for you. I know we can't cover all the ground because there's just too many teams and players to account for, but I did want to ask you about Kavion Bryant, the Texas Tech commit. As much as we just talked about how polished some guys are, it seems like he's more of a raw prospect maybe compared to some others and has some more work as far as refinement goes, but the athleticism and all of that is there. What were your impressions of Kavion Bryant, the latest get for Joey McGuire?
I'm glad you asked, because 2 days ago I was on another podcast locally where I was asked of the 12 quarterbacks that they're taking from the Elite 11 finals to the opening finals in Beaverton like they used to do in the old days, who was my dark horse for the MVP? Who was the guy that, made it to Beaverton, that maybe didn't have a top 5 weekend in LA, but could use that platform? And I said, my dark horse MVP going into the opening finals based on what I think he could do over the course of that weekend was Kavion Bryant. And again, he just steadiness was kind of how you describe his game, was always in that top 10, top 8, maybe didn't have one performance that catapulted him to the top, but this is a guy that he thrives in the actual games. And so when you look at the 7-on-7 portion of the Elite 11 finals, you're playing with high school teams. There's no timing there. There's no chemistry there. It's going to be different when you get to the Elite 11 or to the opening finals because, again, you're not playing with a high school team, but you're at least getting more time to practice with those guys in the 7-on. But this is a guy that I think maybe the drill zone necessarily show what elite trait he has that would put other guys that maybe are so overtrained or at least superbly trained there. But I think he's a guy that he showed flashes over the weekend that now you get him into 4 or 5 7-on-7 games in Oregon. He's a gamer. He's a gamer on Friday nights, and I think he's going to be a gamer in a couple of weeks. And I'm standing by my dark horse MVP with him.
Brandon, one uncommitted player that was at the Elite 11 is Colton Nussmeier from Denton Ryan. And I know UCLA's in the mix, and I believe he's actually got a visit coming up to UCLA this weekend. Where do you see him landing? Like, do you have a feel on where Colton Nussmeier might end up?
Yeah, so as soon as he was done with the event on Sunday, he made the drive up the 405 freeway and did an unofficial visit with UCLA, and they had set up an official visit for him, and now he'll actually be coming on the 19th. He goes to Arkansas this weekend, Georgia next weekend, then he'll come back to UCLA on that last week. And there was another bit of intrigue there in Brady Edmonds, who's been committed to Ohio State for about a year and a half. He is from Huntington Beach, so right in UCLA's backyard. He's actually visiting UCLA this weekend because Dane Weber, who was at the Elite 11, committed to Cal. So Nussmeier did the unofficial visit. They quickly set up the official, but he's got Arkansas and Georgia first before he goes there. But there's a connection there. His dad, Doug Nussmeier, was at Fresno State several years ago with UCLA's general manager, Derek Ray, and that's what kind of got the ball going with UCLA recruiting Nussmeier. He had an ACL injury, and he still doesn't look like he's all the way back from that injury. Looked a little bit uncomfortable at times, especially when he was planting. But you could see the arm strength there. He nailed the crossbar in the pro day part. All 20 quarterbacks got a chance for their last ball to be thrown from the 50-yard line at the crossbar, and he nailed it. His dad was up in the stands, who's now the offensive coordinator for the Saints. And so I think that, Colton obviously needs to make a decision here where he's going to go. But there's also that part that, he's got a little bit of time that he has to wait because Arkansas needs a quarterback, Georgia needs a quarterback, in UCLA. So he's one of those rare quarterbacks that actually gets to take official visits before he makes his decision.
Brandon, anything that was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't ask that we haven't asked you about, that you feel like any prospect or storyline?
Yeah, I mean, the one that I think is probably the bigger storyline is the fact that, we had the number 1 quarterback there in Will Mensel. and he's the Rivals' #1 quarterback, kid that I'm very familiar with here in Arizona, committed to Oregon, and he did not make the finals at the opening finals. And so he came in, and I did an interview with him right before the event, and I'm like, you're one of the most low-key, low-maintenance #1 quarterbacks that we've ever dealt with in the last 25 years. And, he came in with no ego and just said, hey, I know guys are gunning for me. I thought he had a top 5 week. We had him as a top 5 performer. And in kind of a shocking development, especially because everybody says, oh, Oregon is Nike U. The event is literally being held on the Nike campus in Beaverton, Oregon, which Phil Knight founded. And Oregon's biggest donor will not have his quarterback on the Nike campus. So that was kind of the surprise from the weekend, that a guy that I thought was really good, who was the runner-up in the Rail Shot Challenge on Friday night, didn't make it back to the opening final. So, we'll see if that just motivates him this year. They lost in the state championship game last year, so he just added another bit of fuel to his fire.
Brandon, last thing I have for you. Tell us a little bit about the Avery Strong Showcase you got going on Sunday.
Yeah, this will be our 4th year that we've had it. We have it on the campus of University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington. It was named after my daughter Avery, who passed away 10 years ago of a terminal form of brain cancer, DIPG, and she was diagnosed in July of 2015, fought it for 7.5 months, and ultimately succumbed when she was 7 years old. So we started a foundation, and we've been really big in the football space with 7-on-7 tournaments at camps. But we've been doing this camp for 4 years now, about 5 miles from where she was actually diagnosed with her tumor. And in year 1, we had Kayla DeBoer was there. We had University of Michigan. Now we've grown to nearly 600, 700 kids a year, 4 different sessions, head coaches from Power 4 schools, G5 schools, coming FCS schools. Jaron Sangapolitelli was actually our overall MVP 2 years ago. He came in, actually threw at Cal that morning, did an unofficial visit with Cal. They said, we're going to go all in on you. He flew up to Washington that afternoon, threw again, got the MVP. So we've got some pretty esteemed alums that call that event, but proceeds for that foundation, or for that event, go to the foundation that we've got built to fight back against brain cancer. And we're continuing to move mountains to try to find a cure for that disease that took my daughter.
Well, Brandon, that's incredible stuff, man. And I've seen it from afar over the last few years, and kind of how you've documented the ride along the way. But what you've turned such a negative into such incredible positives is just really admirable, really a beautiful thing, man. I know she'd be proud, and really enjoyed the conversation, all the info, and just your time today as well, man. So good luck with everything moving forward, and hopefully we'll talk to you again here pretty soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me talk about her in the event, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you again. Brandon Huffman, Rivals and On3, national recruiting analyst, talking some Elite 11 and breaking down some of the bigger storylines from this past week. And that was fun, man. I said this a couple days ago. I was like, I don't know about how much Elite 11 still registers anymore. And then I texted you last night. I was like, can we get a dude to talk Elite 11? Because like now that I'm thinking about it, like it just sounds like it'd be kind of cool to go back to that. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed just kind of hearing about some high school quarterback prospects and his breakdown of them all.
It's a different perspective. One thing I meant to ask him, and I didn't, was you get to know these recruits and you get to find out different little quirky things about them outside of football. And I was talking with Trent Seaburn last year, and he's the Alabama commit from that he was mentioning, is from Hawaii. This dude is cold on a saxophone.
Oh, really?
And he is really cold. He sent me a video. They were playing a game last year, and they were up by like 50 at halftime. And he goes and gets up in the stands and starts playing with the band.
Oh, wow.
They get in the crowd wild. But it's just fun to find like the different little unique stories or traits and things that people could do outside of football. But that was one that's always stood out to me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, I remember seeing the story about his daughter and then Avery Strong and all of that, and the movement it kind of turned into, just the level of support from around his colleagues and college football. It was incredible, and really spoke volumes of the respect they have for Brandon and his family. And like I said there at the end, just it's amazing. And just a really beautiful human thing to see what they've turned loss into. And it's just really, really cool. So, yeah, if you feel like you're wanting to support something, then by all means support what Brandon and company are doing. Avery Strong, and a lot on the horizon, sounds like, which is awesome to hear as well. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. And I know you got to run here in a second, but if you don't mind, just give me a couple minutes to just run down the Elite 11 for those that don't know. We didn't get to talk about everybody because, I mean, there's just too many guys. And we want to be respectful of his time. But Rivals MVP was Trey Taylor, the Nebraska commit. So we talked about him. And then the rankings here. This is from Charles Power, just the overall top performers. Peter Bork, Virginia Tech. And again, here we are talking about Virginia Tech again. James Franklin with a pretty good quarterback commit. Peter Bork finishing second. Israel Abrams, Miami commit. Peyton Houston, LSU. Will Menzel, who we talked about there at the end, the Oregon commit at number 5. Kentucky, and Will Stein's going to be really interesting.
That's going to be fun, man.
So they have as rabid of a fan base, I think, as anybody in college sports. I mean, it's not as big as some others, but it's really large. Don't get me wrong. It's very large, but it's just not like Texas, Ohio State big. But the per capita passion, I think, is right there. And I think you see that even with what's the Kentucky Sports Online, just a massive website. But Will Stein there now, and they're going to have some quarterbacks. Jake Narot, number 6 overall here, the Kentucky commit.
Yeah, he's going to be really good. I think he can adapt well to their system. He's done solid in 7-on-7 reps, and if you just turn on the tape, that he can make any throw on the field. But put him with Will Stein, we've seen the way that he's been able to develop quarterbacks. Hell, he made Bo Nix. Him and Kenny Dillingham turned Bo Nix completely around. So, I think that's going to be good to get Jake in there and watch him develop. And if Will Stein can keep him and really just put the pieces around him, he can have success.
Number 7, you had Kareem Hughley of Clemson. Number 8, uncommitted, Ryan Rakowski from Palos Verdes in California.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Next in line,
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
It's time for Craig Smokes Off the Radar.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. I'm Craig Smoke, and we're about to dabble in a little bit off the radar, taking a look at some stories and headlines from around the whole world of sports, not just college football, as we spend 97% of our time. Garrett had to run. I appreciate him pulling a little bit of extra time to just sit by me here and give his thoughts on a few topics. Good to have him in front of the camera. You can catch him on the Zach Gelb show prior to ours normally, but occasionally he'll jump in with us. It's not all that often, but it's great to have him here today with Smokey out on vacation, and he'll be back tomorrow with me for another full episode. We got John McClain of the Houston Chronicle that's coming up here in the next 10 or so minutes, but do want to touch on just a couple of other stories that are going on around the world of sports. Of course, later on tonight, we have the big matchup in the make or break matchup in the Women's College World Series, as Texas Tech and Texas take part in game number 2 of their series. Of course, last night, all I kept saying in regards to this game yesterday was that I just hope it was going to be a competitive and an entertaining and an interesting game. And unfortunately, it started off with fireworks as Texas Tech scores right out of the gates, and then Texas responded in kind. But now unable to pull the comeback after digging themselves a bit of a hole. Texas Tech in a real hole where if they don't win tonight, it is the end of the road for the second straight year at the hands of the Texas Longhorns in the national championship round. Texas obviously looking to go back-to-back, and that's why you hired Mike White, was to do exactly that. So we'll see. But tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN, Women's College World Series, game number 2. Meanwhile, in some other sports around the landscape, last night, game 1 of the NBA Finals had Spurs and Knicks in San Antonio. And wow, was not expecting that. Not shocked by a Knicks win, but kind of shocked by how all this unfolded. An incredible game number 1 in San Antonio. Incredible atmosphere, as you might expect. San Antonio with the striping and everything looked really cool, has whenever they've done that. OKC's really good about that as well, but just thought, like, man, Spurs are going to win this game. It's at home. It's game 1. They've got a good track record as far as that goes, but it was Jalen Brunson, after getting beat up early in the game a couple times, looking like his knee was going to take him out completely, or he's going to be too banged up to continue on. He fights through some injuries and some pain, and he ends up leading the way for the Knicks in a triumphant 105-95 victory to take game number 1 of the finals. This was great theater. I know that not everybody's necessarily locked in on the NBA, but I think based on last night, if you're looking for something to watch and you're looking for some excitement, we're going to get that with this series. But for the Knicks to go out on the road and steal game number 1, that was a lot of fun. So now with that in hand, they're stick around in San Antonio, hang out on the Riverwalk, I guess, for another day or so. And tomorrow night it will be game 2, Knicks and Spurs in San Antonio. But what an incredible game that was last night. And I'm not really a Mavs fan anymore post Luka, but I can't help, like so many others Mavs fan, to think about the scenario they had just a few years ago with both this man right here and that man Luka Doncic out in Los Angeles on the same team, young and hungry and talented, and they somehow found a way to screw all of that up. Although the Brunson situation was a little bit different. That was a little bit different than the Luka thing. The Luka thing was unforgivable. The Brunson situation, hindsight being what it is, kind of felt like it was a bad decision at the time. Definitely knew it was a bad decision after the fact, and that only gets hammered home with nights like last night. But Brunson was fantastic. 30 points to lead the way for the Knicks, played 37 minutes. Was just all over the place, 3 rebounds and a couple of assists as well, but he was fantastic, and huge victory on the road for the Knicks to steal game number 1. Now, meanwhile, as we wait for game number 2 on Friday, the Stanley Cup Finals get back into the spotlight later on tonight, as we will have game number 2 at Carolina. Talk about game 1s getting stolen by the road team. That was what also happened in this series, as Las Vegas won game number 1. And now still hanging around there on the Hurricanes' home ice. Carolina try to tie that series up, or really face a tough hill to climb and a slope that might be too slippery to climb back up if they go down 0-2 and then have to shift this series to Las Vegas. But that will be at 7 o'clock on ABC. Golden Knights at the Hurricanes, game number 2. And going back to that NBA game, one of the viral moments that came out of that game last night was a fan running onto the court to take a selfie with Victor Wembanyama. And I think everybody's initial question after of like, well, okay, thank God he didn't have a gun or a knife or something crazy like that. All right, he wasn't looking to harm anybody. He was just looking to go viral. Like so many people, kids and adults are trying to do these days. So I think we're going to have to really inflict some severe punishments on streaming crimes or trespassing for the purposes of going viral. I think you're going to have to really lay the hammer down to prevent this behavior, because otherwise it's just going to keep escalating. And there has been a bit of a punishment already handed down in light of last night's event. So during the fourth quarter, a fan runs onto the court to try to take a selfie with Victor Wembanyama and had the phone prepared. Looked like he maybe got a couple shots off, but as last I looked, as of like an hour ago, and maybe I'm just missing it, but nobody had found any pictures. So did I just miss it? And there are pictures and he got the snaps off, or was the phone confiscated and they deleted the pictures? Or did he not get is it all just blurry and we're never going to see it? I don't know. But after that incident last night, the fan in question was arrested and also given a lifetime ban from all NBA arenas, according to a league spokesperson. A second individual, the spokesperson said, will also receive a lifetime ban for his role in the incident. So, security apprehended the fan. It delayed the game because of just the whole throwing it for a loop. And then you had Dylan Harper lost control of the ball. And now you've got a statement from the Bexar County District Attorney's Office confirming the fan who made it on the court was a juvenile, and said that they are prohibited by law from discussing any information or details regarding the case. And then everybody else just kind of saying like, yeah, they did their part. They handled it well, and now a lifetime ban for the fan, and looks like his buddy in question. And I think that's the kind of thing you're going to have to do, is you're going to have to say you're and that's what really has kind of been the punishment, I think, for a while now. But it's got to be heavy-handed, or people are just going to be like, oh, I just get suspended for a season. It's well worth it to go run onto the court during the finals with millions of people watching and get a selfie with Victor Wembanyama that's probably going to go ultra viral now that people know it's me. So, yeah, I think a lifetime ban from all NBA activities is probably the way to go there. And also NBA investigating and will further look into Jalen Brunson and a little disruption with some courtside fans as well. So a lot of drama last night, especially if you're a San Antonio fan, though, as you come out on the losing end of what you had to anticipate was going to be a big win at home in game number 1. And instead, it was a loss. And that now makes for a very interesting series moving forward. So there's a few notes. Women's College World Series later on tonight. Stanley Cup Finals game 2 tonight in Carolina, home team trying to even the series. And then the NBA Finals, we've got a couple of fans suspended for life, banned for life, and a juicy game 2 on the horizon after the Knicks game number 1 victory. So there you go with that. Coming up next to help kind of wind down the show, John McClain, our familiar friend from the Houston Chronicle, to talk some of the big news in the NFL this week, maybe dabble a little bit with the Astros as well, just get his thoughts on John's always got a lot of great opinions on a variety of topics, so we'll see what else we delve into, but he is coming up next. Stay tuned. This is 365 Sports and the Smoke Show.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB, your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoke Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
And welcome back into the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. I'm Craig Smoke. Smokey in Florida on vacation for a couple of days. Garrett Ross with me earlier. He'll be back tomorrow, but I am not alone, as I am now joined by longtime NFL reporter, sports veteran, and a Texas legend, and one of our favorites to have on the show, John McClain. John, do appreciate your time, and always good to talk to you. And I'm glad that you gave me a reminder about I said going into break, Houston Chronicle. I haven't hosted in like 4 years, it feels like. So I'm reverting back to like 2021 or whenever the last time I hosted was. So apologies for that. But you are a very busy man, and any little time you can give us, we're appreciative of.
Oh, I love coming on with you guys, Craig. And I remember the first story I wrote for the Houston Chronicle when I left the Tribune Herald to go there in October of '76 was an advance on the Houston Aeros hockey game. And the last column I wrote was the 22 draft. I wanted, once they drafted Jalen Petrie in the second round, I told them I'm writing a column on Petrie, and I did. So Jalen Petrie was the last thing I wrote after the 22 draft. And by the way, Craig, I've been wondering this. When you see these leagues and teams saying a guy's banned, do they have facial recognition? He can come to all the games he wants to as long as he doesn't buy the tickets, right? Friends can take him to games. How are they going to know he's there?
I do think they have facial recognition, and yeah, let's talk about the Spurs game. A couple fans getting banned after last night's game. One that got all the way to Wemby, and again, I don't know if he got a good picture off or not. I haven't seen, but he did get the lifetime ban. We know that, as well as another person. But yeah, I would imagine there's some facial recognition. I think that's for all citizens nowadays, John. As we walk out onto the sidewalk, there's facial recognition probably, but who knows what else they have? That's a great question, but it's a firm punishment. What do you think about the lifetime? You kind of have to go hard, or else you just encourage it, right?
Well, I think those lifetime bans are a crock of you-know-what. So you could put on a hat, you could put on a mustache. You know, if you want to go badly enough, you could put contacts in of a different color, a beard. I think you can't buy tickets. They don't say that. I've never heard a team say we use facial recognition to get rid of fans. I also think, Craig, those fans who are morons, their names should be used. Yes. Why are they protecting them? They should say who they are. You know, this is David Smoke. He's a talk show host. He had to have a picture with Wemby. He is banned forever. And instead they don't, which to me, what's the punishment? That you can't buy tickets.
Yeah, I think the reason for the not naming, if I remember correctly, is they were juveniles. So I think that's maybe what prevented that. But otherwise, yeah, you're absolutely right. And if only if it would have been David Smoke running on the court, what a story we'd be talking about today. That would have been fantastic. But nice win for the Knicks. I don't know. Are you somebody that's like more invested now because it's New York and it's this pursuit of the long-awaited championship? And obviously there's the Texas flavor there with Wemby. Or are you just kind of like, whatever? How does it sort of register on your radar?
I've been watching every game that the Texas Tech women's softball plays.
Gotcha.
I'm fascinated about that team and the Longhorns now. I've watched all the NBA playoff games. I thought OKC would repeat. We all thought the Spurs were next season, not this season. And when I've watched the Spurs, I'm thinking with all the changes the Rockets have made to go from the worst team to a playoff team, how in the world are they ever going to catch the Spurs? Well, the fact is, Wemby stunk it up last night. You know, seeing him jack up threes, he shouldn't be jacking up threes, but he's not a power player in the lane, and he did not have a good game after that incredible game when everybody was ready to name him one of the all-time greats. And I'm like, what are the Rockets going to do? I don't like James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks. Nobody does. Right. He doesn't deserve to have the first championship since 1973. And I watched that game at home. And then afterward, when they beat the Lakers and Willis Reed limped up and down the court, and a bunch of my friends went over to my parents' house because we had a great setup for a basketball goal over on Loch Lomond. We had a big driveway. And then we played it out like they did. And I think I'm the one that limped around because I was the worst player. But I think it's kind of cool for the Knicks and all their fans. And I think the Spurs going to have plenty of time to come back. I also like Mike Brown. He's been fired by almost every team in the league. Good guy. It's kind of like if he wins, Dusty Baker winning that Astros World Series after coming close for so many years, and it was celebrated. I think Mike Brown will get that kind of reception in the NBA for finally winning a championship.
Yeah, I think we're in store for, based on just last night, I think we're in store for a lot of fun here over the next few days. So very much looking forward to it. John McClain joining us here on the Smoke Show 365 Sports. And good to talk some other things, but your bread and butter is obviously the NFL, and there's no shortage of news going on in the NFL this week. In particular, Myles Garrett from Cleveland to the LA Rams. John, it's like a shockwave went off across the league when this news came down. And it appears that Cleveland didn't get a bad deal in return. It looks like they got a pretty hefty haul back. But what are your thoughts? What did this mean to you when you saw it? And how did you sort of break it down?
I thought Myles Garrett has got to be the happiest guy in the world. I saw a great meme that showed Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption walking out of prison. And it said, this is Myles Garrett walking out of Cleveland. He's got to feel like he died and went to heaven. He's going to play for a team that has leads in the third and fourth quarter, and he can tee off on the quarterback. Doesn't have to play the run, just get the quarterback. Craig, this is a great example. You hear people say, your window, as long as your quarterback's on that first contract. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. How many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks are on their second contract? It's like I see people nationally. Well, the Texans got this window open as long as C.J. Stroud's on his first contract. It's like Matthew Stafford's on his 21st contract.
Right.
They got a lot of talent. They got to pay Puka Nacua, and they find ways to do it. If you know what you're doing with the cap and you don't mind pushing money down the road where the piper will have to be paid at some point, that's probably going to be 3 or 4 years, because if Aaron Rodgers can play until he's 42 or 43, why can't Matthew Stafford? Stafford just had a great season. And Ty Simpson may end up never playing for the Rams, and he may play for somebody else. But I'm happy for Garrett. He went through terrible times there in Cleveland. They did make the playoffs twice, but he wasn't going to help him go to the Super Bowl. The general manager in Cleveland, Andrew Berry, has done a great job of rebuilding the Texans. Now he's got to rebuild his team.
And do you think this is something that Cleveland can actually build off of, or is this just going to be Cleveland being Cleveland?
I think, they got to get a quarterback, Craig.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a star quarterback in the NFL. I don't believe Dylan Gabriel is. I think they should be worse without Garrett, right? That means they should get a higher draft choice. And with all these quarterbacks who could come out, no guarantee that they did. If everybody who's available to come out comes out, there could be 6 or 7 going in the first round based on where we stand now. And that can all change, of course. But I think the Browns have put themselves in a good position. On the other hand, Craig, those picks ought to be low. The next 3 drafts, they've got 3 picks. And number one, do we expect the Rams to have a high pick? Not unless Stafford gets hurt and they got to play some backup besides Ty Simpson. And so it just depends, of course, what does Cleveland do with it, and what with the picks, and how do those players help them do what Myles Garrett couldn't?
Yeah, I'm like you, though. I'm very happy for Myles Garrett. I'm glad we're not going to see him just wither away, basically, in Cleveland. I'm glad he's going to get a more legit shot at a title. And with a fun team like the Rams, that's going to be pretty cool to watch next year. Do you think Aaron Donald comes out of retirement? Do you think that's just – he seems to be weighing the option, but do you think that's actually something that'll come to fruition?
No, he's 35 years old. He's not – he would come in, expect to start. He's not – even though he's in great shape, he's always showing those pictures with his shirt off where he's still lifting weights, kind of like you sometimes do, or your dad. And so I don't think he will. It would have to be a part-time role. They got a great defensive line, and the tackles are a strength now. Ends are a strength, and I don't see Aaron Donald doing it. It's not like they got a lot of money to pay him, and I don't think they need Aaron Donald. They've got a really good defense. They got a great offense, and I'll guarantee you, Les Snead is not through with what he wants to do to help them overtake the Seahawks and maximize the window they have with Matthew Stafford, not because of contract, but because of his age and when he might indeed want to retire and go into TV. And I think the fact that he is on that show with Jim Gray on Mondays, taking Tom Brady's place, Let's Go, I think that shows Matthew Stafford wants to be in television when his career's over.
It is going to be really interesting if Ty Simpson just has to just write out his contract because Matt Stafford just keeps playing, and then it doesn't even affect them negatively. Like the fact they took a quarterback because they're so well built that they can just throw that pick away basically and still go win Super Bowls. It's just a testament to the Rams organization. But that wasn't the only splash. There's other pieces of news, but the other, I guess, most awaited seismic move was that of A.J. Brown finally getting out of Philadelphia. He's now a member of the New England Patriots. There'd been a lot of chatter about this eventually happening, John, and it did. So what were your thoughts on A.J. Brown finally getting his wish and getting a new start somewhere else and what it means for both sides?
I was yawning about it because we've known it was going to happen since the draft. It's goodbye and good riddance for him and the Eagles. I don't know why he couldn't be happy to play for a Super Bowl contender every year. I think he'll be reunited with Mike Vrabel. I don't think the Patriots will make the playoffs. The Super Bowl loser, it usually doesn't make the playoffs, but it's good for him to be back with Vrabel. When he was in Tennessee before he was traded in a deal that Vrabel did not want to make, he was not a pain in the butt. And if he was, it wasn't because of social media and things and he had a problem with Jalen Hurts. I was stunned because Jalen Hurts is such a class act, and maybe because he wasn't getting the ball more, but Drake May is a better passer, but it doesn't mean New England is going to be a better team. But he got what he wanted, what we all suspected, and good for him. And hopefully the Eagles get the kind of draft results from the draft picks that they hope.
All right. Do you think Texas Tech stays alive tonight?
Boy, after watching that woman who beat them last year, beat them again last night, we'll have the two most expensive pitchers tonight. I'd like to see Tech win, come down to the third one. Tech did it at Florida. They did it at Alabama. People complain about Texas Tech spending money. Everybody spends money, and some spend a lot, but they do a good job of getting players and then coaching them up. They do a great job of that, better than a lot of other teams. I'm going to go ahead and say, because I want it to go 3, I'm going to say Tech wins tonight and Longhorns will win tomorrow night.
I hope you're right in that it extends to a game 3 and we get a little bit of a good back and forth out of this, especially with all the trash talk from like Joey McGuire going on. I would hate for it to just be 2-0 and over just like that. But John, a lot of fun sports to watch tonight. NFL around the corner, and appreciate you as always helping break it all down and talking with us about it. Have a great week. And as always, just fun having you on.
Craig, thank you very much as always.
Thank you. There's John McClain joining us here on the Smoke Show, as he normally does each week, and always talking some NFL, but also dabbling in softball, as is the case today, or the NBA Finals, as we did at the start of that conversation, and the fan ban that's going on. And I do think there's got to be a facial recognition aspect that's in play, but he does have a good point of like, how do you get around the disguises, the fake beard, the big hat or whatever. I'm sure they probably got things we maybe don't want to know about that can pick you off as you're trying to get into the arena or sneak into the arena. But for a couple guys, lifetime bans after getting involved in on the court last night. So was a fun game 1. Was a I don't know how fun game 1 of the Women's College World Series was unless you're a Texas fan. It was a lot of fun, but do have a couple of great events coming up later on tonight. In game 2, Texas and Texas Tech. Texas wins, they win the national title, or the Red Raiders force a game 3. Game 2, Stanley Cup Finals, and then tomorrow get back to the NBA. Rez, do you want to take a break, or do you want to go ahead and close it out here? Let's go ahead and close it out. All right, we'll get into the normal games. I'm solo today for this portion, and probably will be tomorrow as well. So I hope that without Smokey here by my side, we can still accomplish some wins in the trivia department. And so let's go ahead and start off by spinning the wheel as we normally do. in this last stretch of the show. And what will be the question today? Have you ever seen the Mona Lisa? If not, do you ever plan on going to the Louvre in Paris? And these questions brought to you by Andrew, behind the scenes, one of our producers, and always just interested in the kind of randomness we get sometimes. I'm glad that it's not always sport, because we can kind of just talk about some different things. But to answer this particular question, I've only seen pictures and videos, or I've never seen the Mona Lisa in person. I've never been to Paris. I've never been outside of North America. I've only, I think I've only been to Mexico as far as outside of the country. So I'm not very well traveled in that regard, a bit more well traveled around the country itself. But my answer here is no, although I would love to say that the answer was yes. Don't know if I'll ever make it to Paris at this point to see the Mona Lisa. But a bit envious of those that have had the chance to do that. Rez, have you seen the Mona Lisa in person?
No, but I've been to Paris.
No, but he's been to Paris.
There was bad weather. I couldn't.
Bad weather. Oh, that sucks. You get all the way to Paris and there's bad weather. Yeah, that's life, isn't it? Well, all right. So, yeah, the answer is no. I can go ahead and say for Smokey, the answer would be no as well. Unless he's had some secret trip to Paris in life that he's never told me about, then yeah, I think the answer would be no as well. But, yeah, pretty cool if you got the opportunity to do that. So, all right, there is the spin the wheel question of the day. And now let's get into some trivia here, a couple of questions. And then we'll get into the poll results, and then that'll be the end of today's episode. But first, on June 4th, 1974, the Cleveland Indians hosted one of the most infamous marketing disasters in sports history against the Texas Rangers. What was the chaotic promotion? Was it Pet to the Park night, 25-cent ticket not free hot dog explosion? What is free hot dog explosion? 10-cent beer night, the options today, and I feel pretty confident in saying it was 10-cent beer night that caused the marketing disaster with the Indians back in June of 1974. So am I correct? 10-cent beer night, or is it hot dog explosion? All right, 10-cent beer night. Looking to boost attendance, Cleveland sold 12-ounce beers for just 10 cents instead of 65. 65 cents, folks, for a 12-ounce beer. Inflation. That'd be all right. For 10 cents instead of 65, more than 25,000 fans consumed an estimated 60,000 drinks, turning the stadium into chaos with streakers, fireworks, and flying objects. The madness peaked in the ninth inning when a fan tried to steal a Texas outfielder's hat, sparking a massive riot that forced the umpires to award a forfeit. So yeah, this whole event was infamous. I've seen. I don't know if 30 for 30 did something specifically, but I feel like they probably did. And if not, I saw some other, like a John Boyce video or something that covered this, and I've read about it. So, yeah, I definitely knew that one, although I was curious about if I was wrong, like what hot dog explosion would have meant. But, man alive, 65 cents for a 12-ounce beer. Those were the days, I guess, especially if you're going to ballparks to drink a few and have a few hot dogs and all that. So there you go. Cool. Correct on that one. So we're at least going to bat 50%. Let's go on to question number 2. On June 4th, 2000, the LA Lakers erased a 15-point fourth-quarter deficit in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Which team did they stun to reach the NBA Finals? The Phoenix Suns, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trail Blazers, or the Sacramento Kings? And I don't know here. I feel a strong lean towards the Suns or the Kings, and I'm just trying to line up my years. I'm going to say the Sacramento Kings, but I don't feel extremely confident in that. So let's go with the Kings and see where we go from there. Yeah, not even close. All right, Portland Trail Blazers. I know it. I deserve that. Portland Trail Blazers, they might have been like the fourth team I would have guessed. So, yeah, definitely not my wheelhouse, random finals occurrences in the NBA playoffs. But down 15 in the final frame, the Lakers ignited a furious 25-4 run to complete the largest fourth-quarter comeback in Game 7 history. The epic 89-84 rally was capped by Kobe Bryant's iconic alley-oop lob to Shaquille O'Neal. Now I can picture that in my head, absolutely. With 41 seconds left, launching LA's legendary early 2000s repeat dynasty and punching their first NBA Finals ticket since 1991. So a little over half the responses did get that right, but at least I had some company in the wrong category. And I mean, I might have had Portland 4th out of 4 choices there. I see that picture of Shaq and just the description of the alley-oop, and I can remember it in my head, but I wouldn't have been able to place the team that they were playing. So, all right, chalk that up as an L. 1-1 on the trivia questions today. I did not like those Lakers teams. I'll say that. I was a Mavericks fan, so they were still a few years away, but they were definitely entertaining and fun and getting to be more so that way at that time. But those Lakers teams with Kobe and Shaq just, I don't know, like people marvel at the big guy. And so it's understandable to marvel at like Wemby and how tall he is and his skill set. But I didn't really enjoy bully ball like with Shaq and just being so much bigger and physically imposing. That's not a style that I love. And plus it's the Lakers. And I had a hard time rooting for those guys. And it was compounded by the fact that they were really damn good and they were winning so much that it was tough to take as a Mavs fan back then. But eventually got them back in a way, in a small way. But, those are some great teams. So there you go with that. Portland Trailblazers, the correct answer. Congrats to whoever got that correct. And now let's close it on down with the poll results. What is the absolute best basketball movie ever made? Hoosiers, White Men Can't Jump, Coach Carter, Space Jam. Hoosiers, the overwhelming favorite here, 59%, followed by Space Jam, White Men Can't Jump, and Coach Carter. And on these particular questions, I think my order would be Hoosiers, White Men Can't Jump, Space Jam, and I didn't really care for Coach Carter. Coach Carter's actually been around Waco. Like, I don't know if he lived here or what, but he had, I don't know, some business or was living here or something. I forget what the crossover was. And I think you've heard this before if you've heard people talk about him, but like not the greatest reviews of him. I love Samuel L. Jackson, but like a lot of people have told me, like, yeah, I didn't really like Coach Carter, the real Coach Carter, but can't speak from experience. Just I've heard that more than enough times where that's kind of always what I think of when I hear about Coach Carter. And I don't even really remember too much about the movie. So I'd have that as last. But either way, Hoosiers, overwhelming favorite. Not a shocker there. I'm trying to think if I could add something. I'd take out Coach Carter. I'd put in Hoop Dreams. And Hoop Dreams actually might be my favorite. It's a documentary, so it's a little bit different. But that or, hell, I'd even put Sunset Park on there. He Got Game on there. So, yeah, those are some of my basketball favorites as well. So, all right, what's up next as far as the poll questions go? When playing a sport, what is your dominant side? Righty all day, proud lefty squad, and ambidextrous both. Wow. So more ambidextrous than lefty. And I'm trying to think of what my answer would be here. I actually have so I'm left-handed. And I've just always been like a lefty and with pretty much everything. But there's like 2 exceptions that I don't do left-handed. It's really strange, and I can't tell you why that is. It's just more comfortable to do it right-handed. It's 2 things and 2 things alone. I don't hit right-handed. I don't shoot right-handed. I don't throw right-handed. But 2 random things. I shoot pool right-handed, and I also throw a Frisbee right-handed. So I don't know why those 2 things or like what the clinical breakdown would be for why I do everything left-handed except for those 2 things. But those are the 2 exceptions. So I guess I'm technically kind of sort of the ambidextrous, but more so than that, I am very much proud lefty squad, proud to be a southpaw. And I would go with proud lefty squad, but there are a couple of exceptions, like I said. But no surprise, overwhelmingly, it's righty all day. You guys with your scissors that always work and all the other instruments that are problematic for a young lefty growing up that I had to deal with. But, yeah, no surprise, righty all day wins. So, all right, a little bit of an outside-the-box question there and a good number of responses. So shout out to all the fellow lefties out there, though. You know the struggle and the scissors in kindergarten class and how difficult that was, and the pencil marks or the ink marks when you're writing growing up, and because you're lefty, it scrapes across the ink as you write it. So every day you have the ink stains or the pencil lead stains. Yeah, that's just part of the charm, I guess. So, all right, there you go with that. And with that question, that'll wrap up today's episode of the Smoke Show. Fun to host. It hasn't been quite as long as I indicated, John. It hasn't been like 4 years since I hosted. I did host, I think, a time or two last year. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Garrett will be with me for the first hour and a half or so. Wonder what we'll have to talk about outside of course, the Women's College World Series. Might dabble a little bit in the pros as well. Do we have some Brendan Sorsby news? I'm interested to see if maybe something drops, but whatever happens over the next 24 hours, we'll also have a national preview on some of the burning questions we have for this upcoming football season. A little bit of what we did earlier with the Big 12 categories. We'll go more national with that and just ride the wave of whatever news comes across that might be of interest as well. But as always, can't tell you enough out there, whether you watch on YouTube or Twitter or after the fact, or you listen to the podcast, whatever it may be. We're pretty homegrown, and we appreciate your support however you show that. We appreciate you being here with us on a daily basis and giving us the precious thing that you have called time, whether it's for 5 minutes or for 2 hours. I know what that means to go and spend your time doing anything. So whenever it's with us, it is genuinely appreciated. So have a great night, everybody. Good luck to whatever fandom you're rooting for later on tonight in softball and other sports, I guess, like hockey as well. And we'll talk about it all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Craig Smoke, and this is The Smoke Show.